What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're having a great day. I decided to bust out the Cadian flak vest fit today. I don't know what you guys think. I really like it. You know, it's funny. I bought this hoodie and a bunch of other hoodies online, and originally I thought the store was kind of one of those it almost looked like one of those shady drop seller stores. And I was afraid that I had gotten scammed, but then like 2 or 3 weeks later, these hoodies came in and man, they are pretty nifty. I'm a huge 40K fan, if you guys hadn't noticed from my other hoodie that I wore in some of my past videos, but you guys aren't here to talk about hoodies and 40K. We're here to talk about Raid. So in my last video, it was a bit of just a quick free-to-play update. I was kind of busy, had a lot of stuff going on. But today I have a little more of a meat and potatoes video for you guys where, you know, with the free-to-play account, I was sat wondering, okay, you get gems, you get a lot of gems really quickly, and then later on it kind of slows down a little bit, right? Usually when you're completing these missions, a lot of these missions give you 10, 20, later on they'll give you a couple hundred challenges, you know, doing a campaign and just, you know, right there, if I get 165 stars in Brutal, I'll get another 100 gems. And I started wondering about whether or not the Guardian Ring, specifically the Sparring Pit, was worth the gem investment. Now, every person on YouTube is going to have a different opinion about a lot of things. What most people tend to agree on is your first 800 gems, you should buy the masteries for your first champion. Usually that'll be Kale, although I will say lately I've been having some buyer's remorse and kind of thinking because the soul was given to you for free that maybe I should have maxed Alice, but what's done is done. Then after that, if you're going to be a long-term player, whether you're pay or free to play, the mine is usually a very good investment. Now you're going to dump 1,500 gems in, and it takes about 90 days for it to pay itself off. After that 90 days, every gem you collect from the mine is pure profit. Well, I started wondering what the Sparring Pit looked like for that. And so to figure that out, I did everyone's favorite thing, math. So I have here the entire layout for all of the math that I've done to figure out what the value of experience is essentially. So I started off 12-3 Brutal is usually where most people go to farm their food in this game. It's kind of the it's technically not the most experience you could get. That would be 12-6. However, 12-6, the boots that you get don't sell for as much silver as the shields do for only about 100 extra experience. So 12-3 kind of comes out to being the best bang for your buck, you know, the most efficient way to use your energy. Now, if you have a 2 times XP right here, you're gaining 100% extra experience. Now, there's other ways to get extra experience. Unfortunately, none of them are available to free-to-play players. You could buy the Forge Pass. At level 5, it gives you an extra 50% experience. And the Forge Pass also has some experience banners in there, which that's another, I think, it's like another 50% experience. So overall, you can get about 200... I think it's like 250 because it goes from base 400 experience or 4,000 experience to about 12K. But for free-to-play players, if you play it correctly, you can always make sure that you're farming champions with XP boosts. So when we pull this back up, what we see here is if you farm a single champion for one run in 12-3 Brutal, they get 8,652 experience. And what I did is I just divided that by 8 because that's how much energy you would be spending. So I got a starting value of about 1,000 experience, about 1081. per energy. For every 1 energy you spend, that's how much experience you should be looking to get. Then, very quickly, I just multiplied that by 130. That's how much energy you can run. If you don't do anything else, you just have full energy and your energy cap is maxed out. You run 130 energy, so from full to empty, you get 140,000 experience. I then took that 140,000 experience and basically said 130 energy is equivalent to 40 gems, because that's how much an energy refill is worth, and that's how much energy you'd be getting to use that energy refill. So then I kind of took the cost of just the level 1 sparring pit and I divided it by the 40 gems, and I got to 7.5. Now this is aggregate because of course, technically you would only be able to get 7 refills, as the 8th refill would cost you 320 gems. And obviously you can't buy half refills and all that stuff. So I just kind of aggregated it to get a rough value approximation. I then took that 7.5, multiplied it by 140,000 and got about 1 million experience. So if you were to spend 300 gems, roughly how much experience could you get from that 300 gems? About 1 million for 1 champion. Well, the sparring pit roughly averages out to about 2,300 experience an hour. Sometimes it's 2,000, sometimes it's 2,500. On average, the median, we're looking at about 2,300 per hour, right? So I took that 1 million, divided it by the 2,300, and saw that to get to that 1 million, it would take about 458 hours. Now, the hours is important because that 2,300 from the sparring pit is getting paid out every hour. I then divided that by 24, the amount of hours in a day, and got to 19.1 days. So we'll say 19 days. This is roughly about how long it would take you to pay off your sparring pit. I then started punching in the math, but generally speaking, kind of looking at how much every level for 1 sparring, because the sparring pit, starts at 300 gems at level 1, then level 2, it's 350, and then at level 3, it's 400. And I will say that the sparring pit level 2 and level 3 are definitely worth a lot less, or it takes a lot longer for them to pay themselves off, because as you increase the level of the sparring pit slot, you're only getting about an extra 1,000 experience per hour. So as you can see, for level 2, it would take you 51.2 days. And for the sparring pit level 3, it would take you 58.58 days, or about 59 days. Or at least that's what I would like to tell you, because shortly before recording this, I realized I had missed something. Whenever you run 12-3 Brutal with 8 energy, you're not just leveling 1 champion, you're leveling 3 champions, along with your campaign farmer. So what does that mean? Well, it means that my math is correct, but the application of it is incorrect. And so to get the actual value of how long it takes for that sparring pit to pay itself off, you have to multiply everything by 3. And so what that means is, for the first slot, for every slot individually, from the point you buy it, you spend that 300 gems. For level 1, it would actually take you more like 57 days for it to pay itself off. Now, to me, I still think that's a great investment, and that's probably where you should put your gems in after you've gotten your first Champions Masteries, after you've gotten your gem mine, and also keeping in mind unlocking slots in the market, because every once in a while you can buy ancient shards with silver in the market, and a lot of those slots need to be unlocked with gems. Unfortunately, what that means is level 2 and level 3 get a lot steeper. 57 days, roughly rounded up to 60 days, so 2 months, is not a whole lot of time to wait until the slot that you've unlocked in the sparring pit begins paying itself back. However, at level 2 and level 3, when we multiply those answers by 3, what we get is about 153 days for sparring pit level 2. And I mean, quick maths, like 174 days for level 3. And that means that, and I wonder if this, because the numbers are so very close, that I wonder if this was actually purposely done or purposely mathed out by the people at Plarium, to where going from buying level 1, level 2, and level 3 of a sparring pit slot basically takes about a year before it starts paying itself back. That could be a bit of a tough sell. Now, I still think that the level 1 is a no-brainer. 60 days is not a long time. I mean, you know, if you're going to advocate, if you're any kind of person who, you know, brings people into raid. I mean, recently I got my girlfriend back into raid. And you're telling them kind of how to spend the gems. If you're going to tell them to unlock the gem mine and you're like, well, 3 months and then it pays itself back, the sparring pit still technically pays itself back faster, at least at level 1. And the nice part is, this is per slot. So from the moment you buy one of the 4 slots, because, you know, the first slot is already unlocked for you, from the moment you buy that slot, it'll take 60 days for it to pay itself back, which isn't a ton of investment. And I think reasonably for most free-to-play players, if you are spending your gems wisely and you're not buying energy refills right off the bat, which aren't even giving you the full energy max that they could, it's not unreasonable in my mind for within the first month to buy all of the sparring pit slots. And then, I mean, as you can see here, I bought my second one and I'm almost at the gems that I need for my third. And I think, I mean, if we look at daily login rewards, we get another 100 gems there. I've got 100 gems for completing Brutal, or getting all this, a couple of stars in Brutal. The Arbiter missions, once you get later on into the tracker, not quite this one. But even at towards the end, you know, right here, once I get to this point, I get 75 gems. Once I've fused Justiciar, I'll get another 75. I think it's pretty reasonable within your first month to be able to afford to unlock all of the sparring pit slots. And then at that point, all of your sparring pit slots will pay themselves off at the exact same time the mine does, which means after you're 3 months into raid, everything is just, you know, full return value. Now, level 2 and level 3, that's a different conversation. That's, you know, investing 3 or 4 months into a game and casually checking on it is one thing, but, you know, buying in and saying, well, these gems won't even start paying themselves back until next year, that could be a tougher sell for people. There is also some other caveats to the sparring pit. Of course, every time these guys level up, you've got to go in and click on this. For certain champions, like low level, where they're at low level, you're putting them in at level 1. This means you've got to check your sparring pit like every hour. I mean, actually, it's more like every 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And that can be a lot for people. Also, there's the unfortunate thing where most human beings need to, like, you know, go unconscious for 8 hours every day. So that's 8 whole hours that you're not checking your account and clicking on the the Guardian Ring to collect that experience. Now, that's not a problem for me personally, because I use a program called BlueStacks, and I just kind of let it do it for me while I'm asleep. I kind of just let it run through and collect all of my experience, so I'm never really missing out on that. You might not have that capability. Maybe you don't have a computer that, maybe you don't have a computer, or maybe you don't have a lot of time to run RAID on your computer. And it does require some macro setup, which, actually thinking about it now, I could probably make a video about. So, that's for you to decide whether you have the time also to make sure that your Guardian Ring is not losing value, because the only way it's paying itself off within 60 days is if you're making sure that these guys are getting clicked essentially every single time they need to be. So that's kind of been it for now. Those are my opinions. I still think for every free-to-play player, at least unlocking the first 5 slots is absolutely where your gem should go after the gem mine, marketplace, and your first champions masteries. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Let me know in the comments below. But before we sign out, I hit level 42 and they give you some soul stones. And I have not really been pulling much because I pulled the 1 sacred I had during the 2 times event. I'm not pulling any shards during these progressive events. I really, especially early on, do want to wait until there's a 2x event for Ancients and Voids to pull my shards, just, in the off chance that it really does help me get a legendary, which would be huge for the account. However, right now, there is actually a 2 times event going on for Soulstones, where you are 2 times more likely to get 5 and 6 star perfect souls. So to me, that's a perfect time to pull. So I've set my wish list here. I only have 2 legendaries, so I can only set 2 legendaries. For my epics, I've only got 4 epics, and I don't know if I want a soul for Yizzo more than I do for Fane, Vergus, and Gorgorab. The rares I was kind of playing around with a little bit. I pulled an Athel from Mystery Shards, and I do think I'm going to level her up, because I really think her plus potentially Kale and Alice would be really good for Fire Knight, which is where some of the best mid-game gear in Savage, Stun, and Regeneration sits. So I also think that shield sets come out of there, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check, make sure. Raid content creator. Oh, I also unlocked the Iron Twins, but I'm not really focusing much on the Iron Twins right now because I really want to use most of my energy right now to round out my starting lineup before I start really hard pushing into the dungeons. But if we look at Fire Knights, yeah, we get Shields, Regeneration, Stun, and Savage. So 4 really good sets. A decent set, and then a couple niche sets. So I think Athel would be really good, along with Alice and Kale for getting through Fire Knight and getting to those, those early sets. So we're gonna look at the Soul Merchant real quick. We don't have anybody in here that we really care about. Now we do have some coins. I tend to save the brass ones because those are the ones that you buy, that you use to buy these, what are they? The Soul Essence, which you then trade into the Soul Merchant, where you can actually buy souls for champions rather than having to rely on the pulls. So I tend to save the brass ones, the silver, whatever, the least soul coins, whatever they're called. I will actually just use to buy 1 more Mortal Soul Stone. And so let's get to pulling. I think, because Belor, getting a soul on Belor would be huge. Nature's nature's grasp, nature's touch, something naturey would allow him to get all of his debuffs, which he brings a lot of to the table, and Bellower has been my main debuffer on my squad, would allow all of those baby debuffs to have a chance to be the big boy versions, and that would just be mwah, chef's kiss. So, Kayle, Athel, Bellower. Is there anybody I want to trade out? Not really. So, I mean, maybe. No, we'll go with this for now, and we'll just see what we pull. All right, first one, and we got awesome. That's how these pulls go, right? We get a soul for Kayle. Okay, that's not bad. We get a soul for Crossbow Man. Not gonna do anything with that. Okay, we get a soul for Athel as well. Now, can we get a Bellower soul? We got, I pulled so many soul stones on my main account, and I almost never get the wishlist stuff. In 4 pulls, we got 2 wishlist items. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess we'll find out. Come on, big money, big money, big money. Marauder. Okay, Renouncer. Excellent. I guess I can't be too upset. I know Kayle, Athel, and then 1 for Chevalier. And we didn't get any 5 or 6s, but I'll be honest, I wasn't really counting on it. We do also have the Immortal Soulstone, and this one maybe will be really the hotness. Well, let's find out. Yeah, that's about right. Eviscerator. Man. Well, we can go ahead and awaken Kayle right now. Might as well. I could wait for a better soul and then exchange that soul for coins, but I think the power that I get now is worth a lot more to me, personally. So, Kayle and Athel were probably, let's see. If I had to guess, I would think Phantom Touch. Phantom Touch is when hitting multiple targets at once, only 1 chain motion, right? Phantom Touch is probably Nature's Bounty was the one that we were really looking forward to for Bellower. But it's probably just going to be 2 Phantom Touches for both of them. Just give them a little bit of extra damage and give them a little bit of extra HP. And then, we have those tokens and we have some coins or those soul essences. We already have a couple of them sitting right here waiting for us, kind of given as like, congratulations on hitting 42. Here's a bunch of free stuff. So maybe we'll look out for a split soul for Kayle or Athel, or maybe if we can find one sitting in here for Bellower, that would be huge. Bellower was the one I really wanted because, again, that ability to turn small versions of debuffs into the bigger ones would make Bellower just way better than he already is. And Bellower has already been great. I mean, Bellower, where are you, Bellower? Bellower has been great. I mean, he's just a debuff machine. Well, that's going to be it for me, guys. I really wanted to pull those soul stones, and I really wanted to tell you guys about the gems. So, let me know what you think. Do you think the Guardian Ring is worth your time? Is it hard for you to actually keep up with it? Do you think that maybe an auto level feature would be nice? Though I'm not saying player would ever really consider it, but who knows? Anyway, that's been all for me for now. And I'll catch you guys next time.